Ma in Japanese cinema, the art of taking pause and why it is important to think. You'll have to forgive me if I this is the wrong term or phrasing for it because when I looked up the actual characters, it was pronounced a different way, but when I look up the actual explanation of the word, this is what comes up. What is ma? Aida probably said that wrong as well, or ma in its literal translation means a gap, space, or pause. As a philosophical component in creation, it is the concept of negative space. In artistic interpretation, the empty space often holds as much importance as the rest of the piece. Ma has been interpreted as an emptiness that is full of possibilities or a promise yet to be fulfilled, and described as the space between notes in which makes the music. The other essential part to creating real emotions within a work. Wikipedia contributors 2020. Why do we need pause? Why should we live slowly? That's the first question that comes to my mind when regarding taking a pause. I want to be honest here too. I would call myself a recovering perfectionist. What I mean by that is that I suck at living slowly. I'm always worried about rushing to get everything done early or at the latest on time. I spend a ton of time running through everything I create looking for each tiny mistake so I can nitpick and fix it. I imagine that if I get my words just right, if I do enough to be successful in the eyes of academia, the workforce, I will finally be accepted and noticed outside of my lack of social understanding. I'm bad at making friends because I have a hard time judging how they feel, and I allow people to do mean things because I hope they'll see that I lay myself bare for them. None of that helps me feel good though. So here's how I reframe it. When I am panicking about not having one writing done on time, I remember that I've pushed out plenty of pieces early and that if we were to take an average, I'd be doing amazingly. I take the time to realize that maybe today or this week I wasn't on my best game because I was feeling sick or I just didn't have the energy, but that if I allow myself to slip some of my smaller responsibilities this week, then next week I will have the energy to be back up and running at the capacity I expect myself to be at. When I start getting worried about the words I spell wrong or the small grammatical errors, I remember how connected I feel seeing a spelling error in a published piece, like a magazine or a book. Sure, those publications have way more people skimming through looking for errors, and someone could choose to be upset about it, but I think, how human are we? I'm not the only one to make mistakes, and it reminds me how alive I am. We all are. I try to spend time realizing that no matter what I do, some people will not like me, and trying to be perfect at everything and stand up for nothing will only keep the people who truly understand me away from me. I would be less myself if I continued to let people walk all over me. Instead, I focus on reciprocal care and boundaries. Finding the right pace for yourself is hard. Everyone's built a little bit differently, and we're all experiencing the universe in our own unique way. The beauty in that is that there is no perfect pace or universal set of controls. What works for you may be much faster than what works for me, or maybe my pace is too fast for the next person. The best part is that your brain will always be able to adapt, reorganize, and build new neural connections throughout your life. Neuroplasticity does decrease with age in certain ways, but you're never going to be more capable than you are today. It's that sentiment of when was the best time to start 10 years ago? How about the second best now? There's no time you'll get back once you've spent it, and that's why how you spend it matters. Maybe the things that get you really going are medical articles, cold cases, new languages, philosophical conversations, new genres of books and movies, interpretations of those, etc. Whatever it is you choose, investing in yourself and your mind's health will be largely impactful long term. You must believe you are worth investing in, starting with the man in the mirror. The AI revolution and how we've become the robots. Use of the word revolution in the meaning of a forcible overthrow of a social order in favor of a new system. Our system has resolved to relinquish creativity, demeaning its form, and slowly begun forcing the original designers to become the cogs that fuel the rest of the components' abilities to create. Sarcastic, in quotes. We have humans using AI to push out mass amounts of regurgitated and misappropriated content that slowly strips media of any personhood or individuality. The art becomes bland, the expressions of oneself become calculated, nothing outside of the pre-designated lines. Eventually, humans begin to implement the forms that keep them safest, and they start to look eerily similar to the circuits they once spilled their life force into training. I understand that this is a pessimistic outlook. I understand that things can go much better as people begin to accept being multifaceted, but I'm also willing to be realistic. I understand that as we continue to devalue education and ridicule and even violently target anyone that dares to be different, people will shrink down into the smallest version of themselves they can possibly get by undetected. How does this affect us? This is going to be personal. Changes in society are going to affect everyone differently. Perhaps for people that are more used to certain privileges, the leveling out from sameness will feel like oppression. For people that have found recently that expressing themselves to the fullest extent allows them to move through life better, this may also feel like oppression. Generally speaking, if you force people to all look exactly the same, they will feel stuck. It may be a different aspect that affects everyone, but I imagine that overall, most people wouldn't like living the same lives as everyone around them. What can we do to fight against it? Now we're asking the right questions. I'll tell you honestly, I don't know. I cannot tell the future, especially considering the little life experience I do have. I find it hard to cross reference. I have ideas though. Allowing yourself more time to think in the shower, before bed, during an activity that you really love. This helps by regaining our attention spans and allowing creativity to be a cornerstone. Not every idea we have is a useful one or something world shattering, and it doesn't need to be. The goal here is not to be revolutionary in your thinking, but to simply start investing in yourself. Investing time and energy in yourself early and often. Do the things that help you get better at the things you care about. If you love learning, start a new language study, research project, read something difficult or new, or both. If you love working with your hands, start a garden, learn to sew and mend your clothes, bake something, and so on. When we place value in the things we do by doing them, even when we don't feel like it, it shows us that growth is important and makes us strive to live better, kinder lives. Train your brain to stop giving up. I'll never claim to have all the answers. I won't even claim to have some of them, but I will try to find them with you. I will try to make the world a better place by choosing who I am and putting my energy towards being good. Bad will never not exist, but choosing to focus on the good makes the bad feel smaller. How can I implement pause? This question is complicated in the sense that I cannot decide for whoever may be reading this. I can provide endless suggestions, but until you find your connection to doing the task, it will not become a habit. For example, I tried to start training jujitsu a couple years ago because I wanted to train with my boyfriend. It's something he loves, and I wanted to love it for him. That obviously didn't last. However, more recently, I realized that I needed to move my body because I wanted to be mobile into old age. I want to feel strong, not feel sick all the time, and not contribute to my lack of bone density over time by starving myself and trying to be smaller. If I must be smaller to exist in a space, then it wasn't one meant for me, and I can easily move on. Due to the personal connections I made to the action, I have stuck with it. I get excited to go to jujitsu and hate when we have to miss a class. Before, when something was hard to learn or made me uncomfortable, I just couldn't imagine working past it because I wasn't doing it for myself or for a real purpose. Wanting to do something just to make someone happy isn't something that builds a long term connection to the action. It feels good to do things for people, and I love making others happy, but you cannot live your life for somebody else. Like I mentioned before, the very first thing you might attempt to do is give your brain more of that empty time. Allow yourself 5 to 10 extra minutes in the shower to just think about your day, past grievances, personal shortcomings, things you can't wrap your mind around, oddities, and anything that might get more movement going on in your mind. The next item is to strengthen your investments within yourself with an emphasis on longevity and sustainability. Find your own connections to why you would want to be better. If it's in spite, so be it. If you need to feel like you're getting back at somebody to get better to start off with, I don't think that's so wrong. My journey didn't start with me being all cinematically perfect at practicing mindfulness and compassion. I had to start caring for myself radically, definition in a thorough or fundamental way, completely, through hating the people that had harmed me. Over time, you realize that it's cyclical. Hurt people. Good beating evil isn't a real thing because it goes on forever. And the way we fix that is to fix the problems we see by first putting kindness into our own hearts and then working to spread it. Recommended readings: Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, The New Age of Sexism, How the AI Revolution is Reinventing Misogyny by Laura Bates, The Compassionate Mind by Paul Gilbert, Let This Radicalize You, Organizing in the Revolution of Reciprocal Care by Kelly Hayes and Marie May Kaba, Rebel Ideas, The Power of Diverse Thinking by Matthew Said, Good Reasonable People, The Psychology Behind America's Dangerous Divide by Keith Payne. Summary. At this point, I've probably repeated the same 2 to 3 sentences about 400 times, only a slight exaggeration if we look back at my previous writings, but basically one of my core tenets of my writing is to work on mine and other people's abilities to understand each other and the world. It is so hard to find information and even harder to find the time to sift through it, and I'm one of those people who has been blessed with the time and safety to spend so much of my time thinking and writing, and I recognize that. A lot of people have had to work so hard that they had to focus on specialized skills rather than the scope of education, and that's kind of missing the point here. Not everyone is supposed to be teachers, not everyone is supposed to be pilots, not everyone is supposed to lead, and so on and so forth. But we can all work towards strengthening ourselves and our communities, and I hope in some little way that my philosophizing touches someone and inspires them to go out and put their hard work on reciprocal care into action. If everyone believes that one person can do nothing, then they can't. But if just one person believes, I think they can still make a difference. Anyway, thank you for reading. If you're a fan of investigative journalism and philosophy, you can subscribe for free today. If you would like to further support my efforts, you can subscribe to my Patreon, which will be linked below. Only occasional posts are for purchase. Everything else is free and comes 2 days earlier, which helps me cover research materials, i.e. purchasing text, as well as my time and effort in development. Along with that, it supports my real-life efforts in making education free and widespread. I thank you tremendously for your support no matter what form. All of my references will be in the Substack and Patreon links in the description. And other than that, I just hope you have an amazing day and take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.